by birth. I was the only child of older parents, and I grew up thinking that I could do whatever I wanted to, that my only limitation was myself. It wasn't society, it wasn't what I thought I'd like to do, but it was really what I was able to do. I was an undergraduate chemical engineer at the University of Toronto. If I had had more confidence at that time, I would have taken a triple option, an honors degree at U of T in arts, maths, physics, and chemistry. But in the secondary school I went to, the only students who went on to MP and C and succeeded were Jewish men. And as a waspy girl, I went into engineering by default. It was fun. When I graduated, I had a scholarship at Bryn Mawr College, and I did a master's degree in physical chemistry. I then worked for DuPont in Wilmington at the experimental station for 2 years. I abstracted technical literature because I could read French and German. This was a possible job. And I was bored out of my mind. So I decided at the end of 2 years to go back to graduate school. And for, I suppose, boring reasons, I chose Johns Hopkins. And I thought at the time I was interested in what Professor Emmett was doing and that I'd like to work for him. And at the end of my first year, I started working for Professor Emmett. He was able to stay around long enough the fall term in my second year at Hopkins to give his course in catalysis. At that time, Professor Emmett was consulting a great deal, and when he was in the building, his graduate students and postdocs would queue up on the stairs, taking turns to go in and talk to him about the progress of their work. I think that the most important thing I learned from working with Paul was to trust people's numbers. He was the most trusting of individuals. If on the rare occasions when you came into the laboratory you were not in your lab, he immediately assumed you were sick. And that was sometimes the case, often the case. We protected each other because we did all work diligently. But I wasn't always sick on the occasions when he came into the lab, I have to confess. Sometimes I might have become so dispirited that I had driven off in my white MG to Philadelphia to go to the orchestra and shop for hats. I found that trying on the hats in a store like Bowman Teller raised my spirits enormously. Even if I didn't buy any, I could come back and go back into the laboratory and struggle away with, intransigent research. Professor Emmett truly believed the numbers you gave him, and for that reason you tried with particular diligence to tell him or give him or find out for him the best numbers you possibly could. He was not so tied to his own results and his own interpretation of those results that he was not prepared to rethink explanations, reevaluate ideas on the basis of better data. And that really is the thing that I value most about my experience as a research student with Paul. The person who taught me most about research was Dick Kokas. At that time, Dick was teaching part-time at Loyola. He had come to Baltimore with Paul from the Mellon Institute, and he was a part-time, I suppose he was called a research associate in Paul's group. And it was Dick who was there on a day-to-day basis. It was Dick who made suggestions about our research. It was Dick who really kept the whole show together, and it was from Dick that I learned everything that I know today about vacuum systems, about putting equipment together, about carrying out research, about making everything work. Now, there were some important postdocs during my time at Hopkins. Louis Demourge, George Blyholder, Dr. Toyoshima from Hokkaido were all working for Paul when I was there, and we became good friends. And that was very important. better stop for a few moments while I take a breath.